Hey Falcons fans! Coming in with the latest updates for you, but before we dive into today's exciting update, be sure to hit that like button so you never miss out on the latest Falcons news. Okay, let's talk about a juicy rumor that's been circulating lately. Houston Texans wide receiver John Metchie III has been linked to the Atlanta Falcons. That's right, Metchie, who has shown some serious potential, could be headed our way. So what's the story behind this? First, let's break down the Texans' current situation. They're stacked when it comes to wide receivers, with guys like Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell leading the charge. With so much depth, it's no surprise that a talent like Metchie might not get the snaps he deserves. But here's where it gets interesting. Bleacher Report's Jordan Schultz recently reported that multiple teams have been knocking on the Texans' door, inquiring about Metchie's availability after his impressive preseason performance. So why are the Falcons in the running? According to Trevor Sakima of Pro Football Focus, the Falcons may be eyeing Metchie to fill their WR2 spot. Imagine that, a young, dynamic receiver like Metchie lining up alongside Drake London and Kyle Pitts. That's the kind of move that could take our offense to the next level. Now, let's be clear, there's no confirmation yet that the Texans are willing to part ways with Metchie. He's young, has potential, and is just getting started after recovering from a battle with acute promyelocytic leukemia. But if the Falcons can pull off this trade, it could be a game-changer for us. Last season, Metchie appeared in 16 games and made his presence felt despite missing his entire rookie year. This preseason, he continued to impress, catching 10 passes for 100 yards and even scoring his first touchdown in a Texans jersey. With that kind of stat, it's easy to see why there's a lot of buzz around him. So, Falcons fans, what do you think? Is Metchie the missing piece to solidify our receiving core? Should we go all in on bringing him to Atlanta, or should we keep our focus elsewhere? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, let's talk about the buzz surrounding our rookie quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. If you've been following the offseason closely, you know that the Falcons made a bold move by drafting Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. This was right after we signed Kirk Cousins to a hefty 4-year, $180 million contract as a free agent. So naturally, expectations were sky high for Penix Jr. to showcase his talent during the preseason. But here's the twist, Penix Jr. saw very limited action. In fact, he only played a little over a quarter in the first preseason game against the Miami Dolphins. During that brief appearance, he completed 9 of 16 passes for 104 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, but he definitely showed promise. Then, to everyone's surprise, he didn't dress for the next 2 preseason games. Instead, we saw Taylor Heinicke and John Paddock battling it out for the number 3 spot. Now, why would the Falcons leave their top draft pick on the bench? Head coach Raheem Morris addressed the situation after the second preseason game against the Ravens. He mentioned that they had seen enough of Penix Jr. in live action during that first game and that the rookie was getting plenty of reps in practice. According to Morris, Penix Jr. has been working against the starting defense, getting all the experience he needs, minus the risk of injury. Morris seems confident in this approach, even drawing comparisons to how the Kansas City Chiefs handled Patrick Mahomes during his rookie season. Remember, Mahomes didn't see much action his first year, sitting behind Alex Smith until he was ready to take the reins. Could the Falcons be taking a similar approach with Penix Jr.? It's certainly a possibility. There's also the injury factor to consider. We've already seen the Minnesota Vikings lose their rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, to a season-ending injury during the preseason. Perhaps the Falcons are playing it safe, ensuring that Penix Jr. remains healthy and ready for the future. But there's another angle to consider. By keeping Penix Jr. under wraps, the Falcons may be avoiding a potential quarterback controversy. Imagine if Penix Jr. had lit up the preseason and then Cousins, who was recovering from an Achilles injury and adjusting to a new team, struggled in the opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The pressure on Morris to make a change could be intense. As we head into the regular season, all eyes will be on how the Falcons manage Penix Jr. Will they continue to quietly develop him, keeping him in the shadows until the time is right? Or could we see him burst onto the scene sooner than expected? One thing's for sure, this situation will be fascinating to watch. So, Falcons fans, what do you think? Are the Falcons making the right move by keeping Penix Jr. out for now? Or should they give him more playing time to see what he's really capable of? The Falcons just revealed their initial 53-man roster for the 2024 season, and there's a lot to dissect. After a year that saw some big changes, firing Arthur Smith, bringing in Raheem Morris, signing Kirk Cousins, drafting Michael Penix Jr., and adding stars like Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons, we're finally getting a look at the team that will take the field in Week 1. Now, if you had asked me a few months ago what that roster would look like, I probably wouldn't have guessed we'd see names like Judon or Simmons on it. But here we are, with a roster that has a solid mix of veteran talent and young potential. The overall structure? Pretty much what we expected, but with a few surprises that could make a big difference. One of the biggest surprises? D'Angelo Malone. This guy fell out of favor with the last coaching staff, but he's managed to stick around, likely due to his potential as a pass rusher and his contributions on special teams. Whether he'll stay on the roster or end up on the practice squad is still up in the air, but it's clear the coaching staff sees something in him. Another curveball? The Falcons have decided to keep Taylor Heinicke. After an up-and-down preseason, most people thought he might be on his way out, either via trade or release. But no, he's staying, providing a veteran backup for Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. This move gives the Falcons one of the most solid third-string quarterbacks in the league, which could come in handy as the season progresses. On the other hand, some decisions have gone as expected. Antonio Hamilton locking up the fifth cornerback spot makes perfect sense given his track record, especially last year. Same goes for Micah Abernathy as the fourth safety, stepping up with DeMarco Hellams sidelined. The Falcons have also stayed true to their draft picks, with Jace McClellan outperforming Carlos Washington at running back and Casey Washington getting the nod over Chris Blair at wide receiver. And in a tight race at tight end, Ross Dwelley came out on top, outlasting John Fitzpatrick, who struggled with some key drops during training camp. On both sides of the ball, the Falcons have built some impressive depth, especially along the defensive line, which looks primed to cause some serious problems for opposing offenses. There are still a few areas where depth could be a concern, like outside linebacker and wide receiver, but overall, this 53-man roster looks solid. And don't forget, this is just the initial roster. We'll likely see some more moves, whether they're waiver claims or last-minute signings, before Week 1 begins. So, Falcons Nation, what do you think? Are you happy with the roster or do you see room for improvement? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you all think. And before you go, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more Falcons updates as we get closer to the season opener. Go Falcons!